Hi, my name is Maida, and I will be discussing disaster management in Denmark. Here are some photos of me with my friends in Denmark because I currently live in the capital of Copenhagen. The Kingdom of Denmark is a Nordic country in Northern Europe, and it is the southernmost of the Scandinavian countries. Denmark is known for high-quality design and architecture. In terms of natural disasters, it's notable that Denmark isn't seriously affected by geohazards. There's no volcanic activity, and earthquake activity is really minor. The last time serious damage due to an earthquake occurred was recorded in 1842, and it was very minimal, and there were no casualties. Also, there are no documented damages to the coastal areas of Denmark by tsunamis, although there are landslides, and these occur on those same coastal areas. And landslides make up the bulk of the country's natural disasters, and honestly, they're the only natural disaster even worth mentioning. In terms of past influential disasters, there aren't very many. There was an oil spill actually in May of this year, but the disaster management officials were able to address that disaster pretty quickly. They have an oil spill sector that is able to respond to that. There's also a nuclear power plant that's about 20 kilometers away from the capital, and Denmark likes to keep a close eye on that nuclear power plant as well as other ones. That's a big concern in Denmark, but natural disasters are not so much. In terms of disaster response and planning, I'll also address some history as well. In 1993, the Danish government established the Danish Emergency Management Agency, also known as DEMA, under the Ministry of Defense. And before this, they had this World War II era Civil Defense Corps thing. This was established in the late 30s as the State Civil Air Defense under the responsibility of the Ministry of the Interior. This was later changed into DEMA, and the purpose of DEMA was planning for disasters and emergencies that were unrelated to war, so for the first time in Danish history. The DEMA Incident Command System guidelines, they outline the management conditions and the cooperation principles that should be followed in case of a disaster. These guidelines specifically detail individual response plans for individual specific incidents and aforementioned disasters. It is important, though, to note that whether an accident has been caused by acts of terror or nuclear mishap, they're all addressed the same way. The tasks and the structure of the response is the same for each sector. So, in other words, responsibilities always stay the same regardless of which accident is being responded to. When an accident does occur, the response approach is always bottom up, beginning with local government. The first responders are local DEMA staff, specifically the fire and rescue services, followed by local law enforcement, and armed services are called in if they're needed. And after them, assistance can be called upon from the 5 other regional DEMA fire and rescue centers that are distributed across the country. The Danish National Police also established national operational staff throughout the country with the intent of strengthening coordination between law enforcement agencies, DEMA, and civilian authorities. And this was just done to ensure that incident response is always timely and efficient. In terms of obstacles to disaster management, Denmark has a very young emergency management system, having only been established in their current form in 1993, as I mentioned. So Danish emergency management is constantly having to evolve and develop, but they've been doing a really great job thus far. Because they actually have such an advanced emergency management system, they engage in a lot of international disaster management. So some issues that could occur as obstacles could be sovereignty and cultural issues. Here are my references, and thank you so much for listening.